spies are supposed to be secret. That's the whole idea, isn't it? Always was, not anymore. In the past couple of weeks, those of us who have an interest in what John le Carre calls the secret world have seen a rather weird set of things happen. The Dutch and the English outed a couple of Russian spies who had been involved in the poisoning of Russians living in England a couple of months ago, and then who followed up by spying on chemical weapons labs that were monitoring the Russians. They gave their names, they gave their photographs, so they showed photographs of the equipment that they left in the trunk of their cars as they were breaking into Wi-Fi networks. This is unheard of. The other day, last couple of days, there's been a furor about Jamal Khashoggi, who's a Washington Post columnist, a Saudi national living in Virginia, who went into the Saudi embassy in Istanbul a couple of days ago to sign papers involving his wedding to a Turkish national, and didn't come out. And within hours of that, the Turkish government began leaking stories saying quite specifically that the Saudis had brought in 15 spies, all came in on 2 different flights over a 24-hour area to kill this man and dismember him in the consulate, or in the consul's home, which was a couple of yards away. This is a complete violation of what was always diplomatic practice. I mean, if Russians wanted to murder a string of their own diplomats in their embassies, well, it's the Russians. They do that. But this was a completely different kind of thing. The Turks have backed off on this a little bit. They've gotten quiet about it, and they're saying it's true, but they're not saying it publicly. They're not saying it officially. They're saying it publicly, but not officially. And you've got an actual human being who clearly has been murdered at this point, and he's a pebble in this scenario. And he's a pebble, and the ripples go everywhere because it's an international chess game that's going on. And in this chess game right now, the main recipient, the main beneficiary, seems to be Erdogan of Turkey, the Prime Minister of Turkey, who was embattled on all sides a couple of months ago. His economy was falling apart. He was hated by NATO because he'd become way too authoritarian. He was under all kinds of pressure. And now suddenly he's in the catbird seat because clearly he does have information. Everybody takes seriously the information he has on the Saudis. And the question is whether he's going to use it. And surely there are people from the Saudis talking to him about this. And there are probably people from the United States talking to him about this. And the question is he going to make public his information? He's already gone about as close as you can without putting it on letterhead and making it an official statement, but he hasn't done that yet. And the fact that he's holding back suggests that there's some sort of end game going on between those countries. His more recent allies, Russia and Iran, would love to see him sticking pins in Saudi Arabia. They've been bedeviled by Saudi Arabia for years. They have their own oil to sell. So there's a whole big chess game going on about this stuff. But the thing that those 2 stories say that is actually a bigger story, long term, is that governments seem to have made the decision that spying is no longer about keeping things secret. It's about the selective release of information. And we're going to see more and more of that from more and more sophisticated sources. And we're going to have to really think about where these stories come from. Who do they serve? Who's benefiting from them? Because it's now a whole different game from the one we grew up with.